So I think my topic is in next 18 minutes is about preconception counseling for women with diabetes. And I feel that in most of the cases, we all know that in practice, pregnancy are always not planned, and all the girls and the women come with the pregnancy test positive to the gynecologist, then they will come to you. Though they are regularly following up in your clinics before pregnancy, somehow there is always a gap of 4 to 6 months. They will go, the pregnancy test comes positive, they will see an obstetrician, and then they will come to you, back to you for their diabetes. So there are very much good reports which say that only 5% of pregnancies are planned, and 50% of the times women with visit ANC after first trimester, and about 29% in other series, and one French study shows only 24% pregnancy. So that is the problem, though we discuss a lot about it. We know that there is a perinatal mortality, macrosomia, neonatal hypoglycemia, and congenital malformations are associated. If you look at the pregnancy, then if you relationship with the standard fasting glucose, one can see the congenital abnormalities go up as high as the fasting glucose, higher up more than 160, it is really high. Same correlation is there with A1C, which will come in next few slides. So congenital anomalies in type 1 diabetics, what he has shown here is that in different series of publications, with preconceptional care, it improves dramatically. If there is a good preconceptional care of these women with type 1 diabetes, there is a lot improvement in the outcomes and decrease in the congenital anomalies. And if there are no preconceptional care, the congenital anomalies are much higher, and it is a series of type 1 pregnant girls. Poor pregnancy outcomes in women with type 2 diabetes. In general, type 2 diabetes is associated with poor pregnancy outcomes even when compared to type 1 girls. So a type 2 girl getting pregnant, definitely there is a risk of everything is much higher, though overall you see her sugars are not that bad. There are other reasons for that which we will see. 4-fold increase in perinatal mortality compared to type 1 diabetic, and 9-fold increase in the background compared to background population. Also more than double rate of congenital malformations compared to type 1 or background population. So one needs to take type 2 girls or pre-gestational diabetes extremely seriously. This is a different subgroup compared to type 1 or a GDM. So someone pre-gestational diabetic needs to be addressed very carefully. Then another series shows that abortion rate is 8.8%, doubling to 15.7% in those with poor glycemic control in type 2 diabetic girls. 2.5 to 3.5 fold increased risk of stillbirth and perinatal mortality, and 11 times greater congenital malformations compared to background general population. So a type 2 diabetic girl getting pregnant, one needs to be seeing in pre-gestational period for better outcomes. More rates of obesity and diabetes in children born to mothers with pre-gestational diabetes compared to babies, children born to mothers who have got diabetes during pregnancy, like gestational diabetes. There are two big series. Petit is the done, which is recent work. A lot of his work, he has now 3 generations follow-up. So that is been seen, and so even the babies born to these pre-gestational diabetic women need to be followed very carefully. The counseling should include routine diet, obesity, we will come to it in next few of the slides, exercise, that is pre-pregnancy. We know that ovulation and the rate of abortions are much less if that girl is exercising regularly pre-gestational period. There may not be any weight loss, but a regular exercise, there is a ovulation is better, the abortion rate is better. Risk will increase with duration of diabetes, that needs to be told. Use of contraception till good glycemic control is achieved. Medications for diabetes and other medications need to be reviewed, and assessment of retinopathy, nephropathy, routine folic acid and B12 supplementations are must. A1C targets, as we just saw the fasting glucose and the relationship of congenital malformations, it should aim at maintaining A1C below 6.1, and if you see the papers which are published of routine A1C in normal pregnancy, it is between 4.5 to 5. Those who are normal girls with normal age and normal weight, the A1C across the 3 trimester, and from Indian data published from Dr. Sheshaya, it is around 6.2 to 6.5, slightly more in Indian patients. So the target should be 6.1 prior to pregnancy. So unless someone achieves this target, it is better not to advise to go ahead for pregnancy. Women with A1C above 10% should strongly advise to avoid. This situation always comes in practice, that someone comes with the A1C report and 8 weeks of amenorrhea with the A1C of 10 or 10.5. So it's a really difficult situation. Usually this girl has conceived after IVF and lots of other things. So everyone needs to be more aware, gynecologist and in general the general population, about the good A1C or good glucose control, because that is the factor which can be controlled in next 6 months time if you decide. There are other factors which cannot be controlled in 6 months time. I will come to them in next few slides. PCOS, metformin use in PCOS is, we know that induces ovulation, reduces miscarriages, improves pregnancy outcome and may reduce incidence of GDM. So what happens, metformin, once these girls become pregnant, there are recommendations about metformin, or not that you can use it throughout pregnancy. It is not like that. There are many recommendations even from ADA that to stop metformin once the girl remains pregnant. But there is a consensus by the International Association of Diabetes and Pregnancy Study Group that you can continue it till in few months. So what it says is possible undiagnosed diabetes can continue in first trimester. Someone comes with the first pregnancy test positive, you may not stop it immediately because that will increase the rates of abortion in these PCOS girls. You can continue it till 5 months. After that, whether to continue or not, it depends on individual decision. You need to go through all the publications and decide. Similar to women with type 2 diabetes already on metformin can continue in early pregnancy. Merits and demerits needs to be discussed with the patient regarding ongoing treatment. Potential benefits are assessed. Of course, women with GDM, it's a different case. We have a mixed study, metformin in GDM, which supports the use of metformin in those who got diabetes after pregnancy and can be continued, but there are still some question marks about this research that we will discuss later in question answers. But pre-gestation, if someone is on metformin, my recommendation is to continue till first trimester or maybe up to 20 weeks, and then at least in my practice I reduce it. It does cross placenta and there are some reports about it. Other medications, statin should be stopped few months prior to pregnancy. It's a confirmed teratogenic effect in animal studies and also the human studies. So it's a category X drug. ACE inhibitors and ARBs should be discontinued prior to pregnancy, maybe few weeks prior. And actually my practice, if someone is childbearing age, I don't use these drugs because the patients never come to you in pre-gestation. They will always come to you with positive pregnancy test. So usually I don't give these drugs, ACE inhibitors, ARBs and statin, if someone in childbearing and that lady is not sure that whether she wants a baby or she doesn't want a baby. Unless there is a tubectomy is done, we never advise this drug. Antihypertensives allowed are, we all know, methyl-dopa, calcium channel blockers and labetalol. Routine retinopathy screening is a must. If a girl who do not have a retinopathy before pregnancy, the risk of developing it during pregnancy is lower. But someone has a retinopathy, then the risk of progression is very high because of pregnancy. So sometimes type 1 diabetic girls, they come, and so in that counseling and discussion, we need to screen them. If there is already proliferative retinopathy, I usually advise not to go for pregnancy because there is a risk of increasing it many-fold, though you have a better control. And even prior to pregnancy, these girls' glucose control need to be very gentle reduction over 6 months to target A1C. Too much of control, too much variability, hypoglycemia, the retinopathy will progress very high. If there is no retinopathy, one can go ahead for pregnancy. But if there is a slightly more than like proliferative, one needs to be careful. Similar thing is for nephropathy. So routine screening for thyroid abnormalities are recommended in all pre-gestational women because it is quite common. Pre-pregnancy care is the most effective way of improving pregnancy outcomes. So I just wanted to stress one point on the half of my talk, that what can we do in the present when we are sitting in the clinics. You can control glucose, have a target A1C, see the drugs, and lot of education about exercise. Now the major problem in India, I will like to discuss in next 7-8 minutes, whatever time is possible, is the obesity. It is not only glucose, it is the obesity in the young girls, which is again with the lower cutoffs in Indian patients, that is responsible for the more fat in the babies, which is responsible for the future problems. So all the risk in India is at lower cutoff. Women are getting more kind of a waist circumference. If you see in Ramchandran's study, there is a significant increase in women with the central obesity, and central obesity is increasing, is a predicting diabetes, not the BMI. So overall population is getting more kind of a central obesity. The Indian babies, this nicely published, lot of work done by Dr. Yajnik from Pune, that a small baby is already thin and already fat. Though we are having a normal BMI girls, we have also published the papers from the KEM that mothers with the gestational diabetes, the babies are more fat, though they are normal weight. So they will not be having 4 kg, just 3.2 kg or 2.8 kg, but they are more fat. So body fat is determined by the mother's glycemic status, and so that is important. So pre-pregnant obesities, the Catalano has published that even the BMI more than 25, the baby will become more fat, which is responsible for another generation of diabetes, and we will come to the slides in next few things. So pre-pregnant obesity, it is not only glycemic control, is the obesity, the BMI, the mother's triglyceride, there are a lot of other factors which are responsible. Like this insulin sensitivity, we all know that it goes down with increased cytokines, increased hormonal changes in pregnancy. So it is related to the pre-pregnant weight, visceral adiposity, PCOD in young girls, that actually produces more kind of a central obesity or metabolic risk in young girls, which gets reflects in the next generation with the more body fat in the babies. So intrauterine metabolic factors, we know it's not only glucose, but free fatty acid, triglycerides, amino acids, then there are metabolomics and microbiomes, which are responsible for more babies' intrauterine growth and the milieu, and the baby's fat percentage. So whole these things are called as now epigenetics or intrauterine programming for the fetal programming. So all these factors affect the fetal program, and the babies are born with this abnormal uterine environment, become more fat. What happens to these babies? We will just see. This is called as epigenetics, and all these effects are exaggerated in the presence of obesity prior to pregnancy. Though we say we have thin population, there are lots of young obese girls in our population with PCOD. So that exaggerates all these problems. So this obesity in young girls, that needs to be tackled more. What it shows that 68% increase in hepatic fat in neonates born to obese GDM mother. So some girl is obese, the baby is fat in the liver. This was a actually Frankel award-winning talk in this year's American Diabetes Association. Norbert Frankel Award was given to this scientist who showed that how baby's liver fat gets affected by mother's pre-pregnant weight and mother's lot of effects. And this liver fat actually predicts this person's future diabetes and obesity. That may be the major reason of increased epidemic of obesity in India. We know a lot of work done again from the Pune from Dr. Yajnik. High triglyceride is a specific abnormality even in the young girls. Changes in triglyceride again predicts baby's fat percentage. Another new thing is gut microbiomes. Gut microbiome is a novel environmental factor that directly impacts metabolism. Bacteroidetes and firmicutes ratio correlated with metabolic syndrome, and we know that this microbiome is altered in pregnancy. We know the reports of these obesity surgeries and obese and thin people, but that is also altered during pregnancy. From early to late pregnancy there is a change, and obesity prior to pregnancy changes this ratio in microbiome, and this microbiota can lead to, we know that it gets to the babies, and it can lead to the infant who are more, or babies who are more obese or have a more fat mass. The intestinal bacteria are transmissible from mother to infant, and shared environment is best predictor for a similar microbiome. So there is also the high fat diet. High fat diet directly changes this microbiome environment in young girls. So if it is much more, if there is a pre-pregnant obesity. So it is lot of factors which we are beyond our control in just 6 months what we see these young girls. So what I always feel that these are the factors which are increasing microbiome, metabolomics, genomes, we know genome-wide association studies, and the epigenetics. All these things are responsible for the next generation which are coming with more fat percentage or born, who are going to get diabetes in future. So pregnancy is, I think, just exaggeration. It's actually a type 2 diabetes. NGT patients get immediate future diabetes. Again, I think we published this series where we followed up GDM girls, and within 1 year 45%, within 4 years almost 65% young girls got frank diabetes. So having a slight obesity or increased glucose, we need to avoid that right from preconceptional care, right from pre-pregnant stage. And this is the basic slide which tells us that diabetes begets diabetes. So this abnormal fuels hyperglycemia and other things which I told you, microbiome, metabolomics, triglycerides, amino acids, glucose, pre-pregnant weight, all these bad environments, there's an altered fetal islet function, childhood obesity, puberty, there is an impaired glucose tolerance, there is an impaired adult islet function because of this childhood obesity and also because of intrauterine programming. These girls born to these mothers, they get gestational diabetes. So there is this is a vicious cycle which diabetes begets diabetes. So what I want to say is that the simple things we can control as a care in clinical practice, but overall good improving health of young girls in India, pre-pubertal, because someone gets obesity in puberty, it becomes a metabolic memory for that girl, it comes back during pregnancy and even at the age of 40, that's what the obesity papers say. So a pre-pregnant girl, a good kind of a health right from her age when she enters puberty, a good normal weight for these young girls can save lot of problem for that girl as well as the future generation. That is my take-home message. And pre-pregnant obesity need to be addressed for better outcomes for women as well as future generations. Thank you so much.